What's up, boys? Today I'm going to teach you guys how to build and play Longsword Melee. And we're going to go into a lot of detail. But first, we're going to start with a brief overview of his skills. Obviously, Melee has been out for a while, so most of you guys are already going to know how to play him. So most of you guys can skip this. This section is going to be for newer players who just joined the game and are looking for Melee content. So let's get straight to it. So basic info on Melee. His passive is going to be a Darkness Burst associated passive. Basically, whenever you press his E during his passive, you're going to do a big chunk of damage. His Q is going to be a buffer for his kit. And essentially what you're going to do is you're going to press Q to buff yourself and your E in order to do your big damage. Lastly, of course, his E. This is his big spamming ability, the ability that you just press this ability, there's a whole bunch of damage, and it's really the bread and butter of the entire character. Lastly, the ult. It's a big chunk of damage. Most of the time, you're not really going to use this except for combo ulting. You're almost never going to use this raw, and I'll go more into detail later. If you are a P4 melee, something that's very important is that for your Qs, you need to press Q twice instead of once. P5s and up will always do it once. And the reason this is because when you're P5, you actually get another haste stack on top of your original haste stack. And you need 2 of these haste stacks in order for your E to get refunded during a darkness burst. That is why you will see a lot of YouTubers, you will see a lot of high-end players, and a lot of just regular players in general only press Q once, because they will almost always have a P5 or higher. Now, if you are a completely free-to-play player and you only pulled one version of Melee, you are going to have to do it twice. So that is a note, and sometimes some people get a little confused about that, and I did want to mention it. Now, in order to do big damage on Melee, the first thing you're going to need to do is burst with any character, really. It doesn't matter what character it is, and it also doesn't matter what element it is. You can basically just pick whatever element you'd like for the most part, unless the boss has some kind of specific weakness. He can corrupt every single element and make every single element into a darkness burst. Now, while the boss is darkness bursted, his Q will always get 100% refunded if he hits a boss who has darkness burst, or anybody who has darkness burst. And pressing E while he has 2 stacks of haste will refund his E entirely as long as the entire E hits. Okay, you can get interrupted out of your E, as I'll show you right now. It happens all the time. This is a learning curve with Melee, and it's a growing pain of the character. So it's very hard to just have these damage windows where you just sit here and just spam all 5 E's that you can and just do big damage. Most of the time, you're going to have to do 1 or 2 E's and then dodge and then try to fit in E's here and there. And for the most part, as I said earlier, you're almost never going to ult on this character. The only time you're ever going to ult is to combo ult. So there's many characters that Meliodas can combo with, as you guys can see here. And having one of these characters on your team is ideal, but not mandatory. You want to do the combo on the character because it does apply opening no matter what. So if we go right here, opening increases speed bastard damage taken by 50%. So it is a big damage boost, and this is how most players are going to use their magic gauge on Meliodas. You almost never want to raw ult. There's very certain scenarios where you would, like if the boss is almost dead or, whatever. But for the most part, you want to save your magic gauge until you can combo ult with one of the aforementioned characters shown before. Now we'll go over Meliodas's best gear to put on. So obviously, Longsword Melee, it's going to be a new adventure set. You're going to obviously want the level 3 version of Endless Drive, because each normal skill inflicts additional damage equal to 45% of damage dealt for 13 seconds when a burst is activated. And all of your damage does come from your normal skill, which is your E, so this is a massive increase in damage. Obviously, you also get the restores tag gauge by 500 if an attack does not have a burst activated while the effect is active. That's cool and all. It's mainly the first part of the passive that does a lot of the heavy lifting. I also have the Pierce set with the Arachne Ring with double crit chance, and I'll get to why I have the double crit chance on rather than something else. But first, we'll go to the weapon. So the best weapon for Longsword Meliodas is, as most people know, the Black Flame Wings Longsword. The main reason why it's the best one is going to be the 48% crit damage that goes with it, and Meliodas always activates Burst when he activates a Darkness Burst, so he's always going to get this Black Flame energy buff, which is 40% attack and 15% crit chance. Now this is a level 7, so it's not going to be quite 40% and 15% if you have a level 1. However, you will still get attack and crit chance, which crit chance is one of the best stats in the game, and attack as well also increases all of your damage. So it's a very, very, very good weapon for him. It is way better than his Gluttonous Longsword. The Gluttonous Longsword simply takes too long to come online, and I'll show you guys what I mean by that. The Condensed Power, each normal skill increases darkness damage by 18% for 7 seconds, max 54%. The problem with this is that it stacks, right? It has to stack. The other thing is that the second half of the passive is using the normal skill consecutively within 5 seconds on an enemy with a burst activated, increases ultimate move damage by 40%, right? We almost never use our ult on melee, as I said earlier, right? We just use it to combo ult, which usually if we're combo ulting, it means we don't have Darkness Burst already activated, and we're using it to activate Darkness Burst. So because of that, we can't really utilize the second half of the passive most of the time. So it's just this. And this would honestly be okay if it was at 54% at the start. The fact that it has to ramp up is really what kills this for Meliodas and why the original Black Flame one is going to be better. Next, we're going to talk about enchants for Meliodas. So the 4 big enchants that you want on Meliodas are going to be crit damage, darkness damage, normal skill damage, because there's a normal attack damage. A lot of people get those two confused. Normal skill damage, and crit chance. Now, these are also rollable, except for the darkness damage, but the crit damage, normal skill damage, and crit chance are all also rollable on your armor. As you can see, I have normal skill damage and crit damage. Darkness damage cannot be rolled here, but crit chance can be rolled here. So if this one was crit chance, it would be a perfect roll other than the bars just not being filled up, right? So the reason why these are the best is because 1, crit chance and crit damage are just the best stats in the game right now for every single DPS. Normal skill damage, obviously, his E is all his damage. So this massively increases his damage because it basically this might as well just say increases his damage by 17%. Obviously, his passive also does damage, but the E is a big chunk of it as well. And then the darkness damage increase is just everything, right? It's the passive and the E, and the Q and the ult, right? So it increases everything about his kit. So this one is arguably one of the best ones, one of the most important ones. The other one would be crit chance up to 40%. So if we look at my melee, right now I'm running a more consistent build on him. So this build is 51% crit chance and 146% crit damage, right? This build is my build that I use when I'm just running around. I'm not speed running. I just want to do damage, and I want to do consistent damage, and I want to do consistent good damage, right? Because a lot of the speed running builds, they do really good damage. They do the best damage in the game, actually, but they're not consistent because you don't have a lot of pierce, and usually you sacrifice crit chance for more crit damage. So you're really rolling the dice on 1, your character not getting blocked, and 2, hitting all those crits. So with this build, with my pierce set, it increases my pierce by 100. So because it does that, I do get blocked a significantly less amount. I do still get blocked, don't get me wrong, but it is a lot less than if you didn't have it. And then I also have this with double crit chance. The reason why I have this with double crit chance is because, as I said earlier, you want crit chance up to a certain threshold, right? 40% is like, you're good, but like 50% is where you really realistically want to be, right? If you're you can make it work at 40%, but realistically, you want 50%. Now, ideal best case scenario, you have 50% crit chance and 170% crit damage. That is absolutely best case scenario. As you can see, not even I have that. So this is an end goal, like idealistic perfect character kind of thing. And you're going to have crit damage, crit chance, and normal skill damage on basically all of your rolls. And as you guys have seen on my gear, I don't have crit damage, crit chance here, and I don't have crit chance here. I have crit damage. So because of that, I have to make up the crit chance somewhere else. So that's where I make up my crit chance here. So I get more crit chance from the ring and even more crit chance from the chance bonus, right? And this is where a lot of it is going to be, I can't just sit here and tell you, just put this on 100% of the time, right? It's going to be very dependent on what you rolled on your engraving bonus and what you rolled on your enchant, right? Which is where this is going to come into play, right? You want to roll somewhere in the 50% crit chance, 170% crit damage. That is what you're going for. You can make anything work with 40% crit chance, but I highly recommend you try to hit 50% crit chance and then increase your crit damage from there. It'll feel a lot better. It'll feel much smoother. Whereas if you do 40% crit chance and then try to increase your crit damage from there, it's going to feel a lot less consistent. And you're definitely going to be able to feel your character sometimes not doing as much damage as it should. That'll be the times where you're just not critting. So having that 10% crit chance really just helps balance it all out and make it so the character just feels a lot more consistent. You're also going to want darkness damage. Any percent increase is going to do, because obviously you can only roll darkness damage on your weapon. You can't roll it on anything else. And normal skill damage, I have it at 34%. That's pretty high. I would honestly say anything above 0% is better and preferable, right? Because I rolled both on my engraving and my weapon. That's why it's 34%. But anything above 0% is going to be better. All right, guys. And while I can't tell you exactly what set of accessories to wear, I can definitely point you guys in the right direction. So with this graph, the higher an accessory set is, the more potential damage it can deal. The more to the right the accessory set is, the more consistent it is at dealing that damage. So what I want you guys to pay attention to is anything before the full corrupted set, which is going to be this one right here, we're going to completely ignore. These sets are for speedrunners and people that want to hit top of the leaderboard. If that is you, then those are very important for you, and you probably already know they exist. If that is not you, we're going to pay attention to everything else. So this part is where what you rolled on your enchant and your engraving is going to matter more. That 50% crit chance, that 170% crit damage, sorry. So let's assume you're just like me and you didn't get a lot of crit chance on your stuff. And you don't have an Arachne ring that gives you double crit chance like I do. Then you would run the full Arachne set just to try to make up that crit chance you're missing and wait out until you get another one, right? Maybe you can get a Corrupted Watcher's ring with crit chance, or maybe you can get a double crit chance Arachne's ring. Then when you do get that double crit chance Arachne's ring, then you can upgrade to the Life Crystal set without losing too much of that crit chance. Or let's assume you didn't get that much crit damage, you got a lot of crit chance. Then you could run something like the full Corrupted Watcher set for more crit damage, try to make up some of that crit damage. Or if you ran a Corrupted Watcher's ring with double crit damage, then you could maybe invest in the Life Crystal set or keep the Corrupted Watcher set if that's what you want to do. So everything here is going to be very personalized for you and what you rolled and what you have in possession of your account. So like I said, I would like for you guys to stick to anything to the right of the Mad Miners double set right there. And anything there is up for grabs. And as I said, whatever gives you closer to that 50% crit chance and 170% crit damage is what I would go for. Now I'm going to show you guys Meliodas' best team. And to no surprise, it is Meliodas, a burst character. This character doesn't really matter. It's just whatever the boss is weak to. So if the boss is weak to ice, you put Jericho. If they're weak to fire, you put Gila. If they're weak to earth, you put Deanne. So on and so forth, right? This character doesn't matter. it's just the burst character, right? He needs darkness burst, he needs somebody to corrupt the burst of. So this character is completely dependent on what the boss is weak to. And then of course, Daisy, Manny, right? This is to no surprise to anyone. This is his best team. If you wanted to do a more free-to-play team, and let's assume you just didn't pull on Daisy, there are 2 characters that you can slot into the Daisy spot to make up for the loss of Daisy and still do something very similar, right? Slater is going to be the first one that comes to mind. Slater does essentially the same thing as Daisy, just a lot worse, to be blunt. But he does do the same thing. He increases crit damage by 30%. He decreases their crit resistance. He's obviously not going to give you the extra crit chance that Daisy gives you from the engraving bonus, and he's not going to lower their crit defense like Daisy does. But this is still a better than nothing option. The other one you can do, if you don't want to run Slater, is you could run Hauser, specifically either Nunchuck or Gauntlet. I recommend Nunchuck because Nunchuck Hauser just generates a lot of ult orbs for basically nothing, right? If I come out here and use my Hauser, as you can see, I have 4 ult orbs right now. I'm going to press QE. I now have 5.25, right? And that was just 2 abilities, right? He just does a lot of ult orb gauge for free for almost nothing. And with his engraving bonus, he does give you 40% crit defense down, and that's at level 1, and it only increases from there, right? So at level 1, it's 40%. At level 3, it's going to be 60%. So Hauser is just a good character overall. He'll help you crit more. He'll build ult gauge for you so you can combo ult more. Very good character. Solid replacement for if you don't have Daisy. Now that we have put this all together, I'm going to fight a boss and show you guys the free-to-play team and the Daisy team. So that is the free-to-play team. It's without Daisy. That's just with Slater. And that was the Daisy team. As you can see, pretty similar clear times. I did go and grab the leaf, so it was probably a little bit faster if I didn't go do that. But as you can see, very similar clear times. They're not too massively off, and obviously Daisy helps a significant amount because she can stun or a god. And that's it, boys. That's everything you need to know about Longsword Melee. Let me know what you guys think about the video, and let me know who I should do next. Thank you guys so much. You guys have a good rest of your day.